Hi everyone, Ravi this side. Welcome to Engineering Adda. Today in this video, we are going to discuss about a real-time problem which is fault tolerance. What it is, how we can solve it, why this happens in the software areas, everything we are going to discuss in detail in this video. So first of all, we are going to focus on what is fault tolerance, what are its solutions, and then practically we'll try to create some Spring Boot applications, and then using the resilience 4J we are going to tackle this problem. So everything we are going to discuss in detail. Let me try to go to the next slide to discuss more about the fault tolerance first, and then the approaches that we are going to use to solve it. So let me try to go to the next slide. So in the overview you can see that we are going to discuss the introduction of fault tolerance and what are the challenges in third-party API integration. So let's say I'm going to take this as an example to discuss more on the fault tolerance and then how we can solve it. So we are going to take the example of third-party API integration to see what is fault tolerance and how we can solve it. Okay. Now coming to the third one, we are also going to see some overview of the resilience 4J, and then we'll see how we can implement the whole scenario in a Spring Boot application and how we can solve it using the retry and the fallback. So let's get started for that, and let me try to go to the next slide to discuss what is fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is the ability of a system to continue functioning in the event of partial failures. So let's say like I already told you that I'm going to take the example of third-party API integration. So you can see that let's say you develop one Spring Boot application and your application is using some of the third-party APIs, and those APIs are down frequently. Okay, so in that case, your system will also crash, right? But that should not be the ideal case for the users. So how you can come out of it, how you can tackle this out, that is where the fault tolerance come into the picture. Okay, so fault tolerance is the ability of a system to continue functioning in the event of partial failures. So let's say your third-party APIs are partially failed or they are frequently failing. Then in that case, your system should not fail. Your system should be fault tolerance. Okay. So how you can develop a system like that, that is what we are going to see here. Okay. I hope you understand the meaning of fault tolerance. It ensures minimum downtime and enhances the user experience. It is a common technique, includes retries, fallback, and circuit breakers. So here we are going to tackle this problem using the retry and fallback. And in some other video, we'll also see how we can tackle this problem using the circuit breakers. Okay. Now, I will go to the next slide to discuss the challenges in third-party API integration. Okay. So let me try to discuss a scenario here. Let's say you are using some third-party APIs in your application and these APIs are down frequently. In that case, the user will get a response. User will not get a response, right? If your third-party APIs are down, then your system will also crash. In that case, the user will not get the response. The system will be crashed, and it is not a good approach to develop something. Okay. There we can try the fault tolerance concept and provide some solution using the fallback mechanism. So that is what we are going to see here. Now, going to the next slide. Here are some resilience 4J overview. Okay, so it is a lightweight and easy to use library for building resilient application. Okay, so this is nothing but it is a library that we are going to use to create our system as a fault tolerance. Now it provides modules for retry, rate limiting, circuit breakers, and bulk ahead. Okay, so those who don't know what is retry, rate limiting, circuit breakers, don't worry on that. I will try to explain you some concept like retry and rate limiting, not circuit breaker here, but yeah, that is what we are going to do. Now, it is integrated, this resilience 4J is integrated seamlessly with the Spring Boot. Okay, so that is why we are using it out. Now, what is retry strategy? Okay, retry is a failed operation, a configurable number of times. So let's say you are calling the third-party API in your system and that is failing. Then what you can do a retry strategy on that API call, third-party API call. Okay, so let's say you are calling the third party API. Now what you can do is you can create a system in such a way that your system call that third party API for some number of time. Okay, that is what retry is. You can retry a failed operation a configurable number of times, and here how you can do that. So let's say you have developed a application, and inside that you are calling the third party API. Let's say it is localhost 8080 test data. Okay, and that is the connection is not being established, or that third party API is down, or it is giving 500. There can be multiple scenario, right? In that case, you can try to call this third party API multiple times using the retry, and that is what we are going to do here. With the help of retry, we are going to call the API multiple times, a couple of times, and then if that is not giving the response back, then we are going to call the fallback method. Okay, now fallback mechanism, it provides an alternative response when retry fails. So let's say you retried the third party API call for 5 times, and even after that it is not giving you the response, then in that case you can call the fallback method, which is, we can say, the fallback mechanism. Okay, here you can see we created this fallback method, like fallback response. We are passing a throwable T, which is throwable, like it is a object that we are passing of the exception, and then we can also track the exception why this call is failing, the third party API call is failing, and we can return a proper response here. Okay, now in that case the system will not crash, that will still give you a proper response, but the actual response you will not get because the API call is not being established, but still your system will not crash. You will get a 2xx response, but the response will be different. Okay, now this is what fallback mechanism is. Going to the next slide, how we can try to like demonstrate this whole thing in the Spring Boot application. So what we are going to do is we are going to create one Spring Boot application, and there we'll try to call the third party API. And in that case, how we can call the third party API and how we can manage this failures, everything we are going to see through the practical implementation. Okay, so for the retry, we try to configure something in the application properties file, and we'll create a method, fallback method. We also try to have @retry annotation on the method which is calling the third party API, and then try to see. Okay, so don't worry on these things. I will try to show you the whole picture with the practical implementation. What is benefit of using Resilience 4J? It enhances the system reliability. So with the help of fault tolerance mechanism, your system readability will be enhanced. It improves the user experience by minimizing the downtime. It is simple and modular design for fault tolerance application. Okay, so these are the things. Now what I will do, I will come out of it, go to the Spring Boot application, and go to the IntelliJ and try to create a Spring Boot application. So here we are. Now I will go to the IntelliJ and try creating the applications here. Okay, so we are IntelliJ and I'm using the IntelliJ Ultimate version. So I can directly come here and create the Spring Boot application. Okay, you can see this option of Spring Boot. If you are not using IntelliJ Ultimate version, what you can do is you can go and try to go to the Spring IO. You can see start.spring.io. This is the website where you can go, and the same page will open up and you can create the application there. You can download your application in the form of zip file and then try to unzip it and open it in the ID that you are comfortable in. Okay, so here we are going to provide the name. So let's say it is fault tolerance demo. Okay, something like that. Now go next and select the Lombok and the web and Resilience 4J as well. So I'm just going to search for Resilience 4J. You can see this Spring Cloud Circuit Breaker Resilience 4J. Just select it out, create it, and just wait for a few seconds. It will take few seconds of your time to get downloaded all the dependency that you added and do the indexing and all. So just wait for that, and then after that we can start doing the development. So till it is configuring the things, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what we are going to develop here. So we are going to develop a API. Okay, and that API is going to internally call the third party API. Okay, so for third party API also we need to develop one application. Later on we can develop that, but as of now we are going to develop our main application here. Okay, so go to this Java. Let me try to create on service here. So let's say it is third party service. Okay, which is this service is going to call the third party API. So that is why I'm just making this a third party service. And let's say we are putting it in the package service. Okay, so we are good. Annotate this class with @service annotation, so it's been can be created and assigned to the application context. Okay, so we are good. Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a method which internally calls the third party API. Okay, so let's say public string fetch, or sorry, you can say call third party API. Okay, now here what we are going to do, with the help of REST template we are going to call the third party API. Okay, so for that we need to configure the REST template. Either you can create a configuration class and configure it out, or you can directly come to this Spring main application, and here itself you can configure it out, because it has the configuration annotation in it. So you can directly come here and configure it out. Okay, so let's say bean, and let's say public REST template return new REST template object, and we are good. Just try to import this and we are good now. Now go to your service class, and here what you have to do is you have to use this one. Okay, so for that either you can use @AutoWire, or you can create a constructor and then invoke it inside that. So anything is fine. Let me try to use @AutoWire here. Private REST template. Okay, we are good. Now with the help of REST template we are going to call the third party API. So REST template dot get for object. I'm going to use this get for object. There are so many methods that you can use, but we are going to simply call API, and the return type of that API is a string. That is why I'm going to use this get for entity. Sorry, get for object, not entity. So let me try to remove this get for object. Pass the URL. So the URL you have to pass. So what you can do is either you can create a, let's say, private static string base URL, or URL something like that. Okay, and here also you can put it there. So let's say HTTP localhost 8081. Let's say our second application or third party API is up on the port number 8081, and then let's say it's something like test data. Okay, so this is the API that we are going to call. So you can pass that URL here, and then the return type of that. So the return type of it would be, I'm just keeping this simple, so I'm just keeping it as a string, and then simply return it here. Okay, sorry, just simply return the output that we are getting from the third party API in this method. So we are good. We have created this service. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a controller here. Okay, so just create a sample controller, or let's say any controller would be fine. So just create the package first, controller dot, let's say, sample controller. Okay, and we have created this controller, and this is the controller. So we need to wire it with the @REST controller. And here what we can do is we are just going to create a simple method called get mapping, and then let's say test, or anything would be fine, call something like that. Okay, public string test call. Okay, and here what we are going to do is we are going to call the service that we have created. So how we can how we can call the service. So for that we need to auto-wire the service here. So auto-wire private samples. Okay, it's a third party service, not sample service. So third party service, and third party service we have auto add here. Now with the help of this object of third party service, we are going to call the third party API, call third party API method. Okay, and then simply return it. The output of it will return from this method. Okay, now we have created this application, and we need to create the third party application and API as well. Okay, so the if you go to the service here, you can see we are calling this third party API. So for that we need to create another application. So either you can create another application, or you can create API here itself, and then try to call that API internally with this API within this API. So that will also be fine, but I'm just going to show you how practically it will like in real time how it works. So again, I'm going to create a new API. So here, let's say it is a third party app, something like that. We are going to create. Select the map one. Go next. Here we need Lombok and the web. We don't need the resilience 4J here. As of now, we have not used the resilience 4J in the current application as well, but we'll try to see. Okay, how we can use it. So we have created this second application, which is third party app, and now inside this third party app we are going to simply create one API which we are calling here. Okay, so I will go here. Okay, let's say, let me try to go to this. We are good to go. Now go to the source, go to this, go to the Java, and here itself I'm going to create the API. Either you can create a controller and then try to create it out, but I'm going to create the API here itself. So I'm just going to create this get API, and let's say it is test data, and it will simply return some string here. So public string get data, and get data, and then we have to return something. Let's say test is successful. Okay, so this is what we are returning from this. Now we are good. Now we have to change the port of this application. So what you can do is you can go to the application.properties file, and here you can change it out. So just go to the server.port, and let's say I'm going to change it to the 8081. Okay, now we are good. Just run this application first and try to test the API that you have created. If it is working fine, we'll try to go to run our second application or main application, you can say, and then we'll test the call of this. So it is taking few seconds of your time. Meanwhile, what I will do, I will try to run the second application as well. Okay, so the third party API is up and running on the port number 8081, and here you can see we have the API. Just click on it and then try to hit the API. So if you hit it out, if response, you can see that you are getting 200 and the test is successful. Either you can use this way, or you can go to the postman and try to hit it out. Okay, so anything is fine. Let me try to show you in the postman as well. So go to this here, test data, and your app is up on the port number 8081. So just hit it. It is working right now. What we have to do, we are internally calling this API inside the our main application, right? So if you'll go here, and if you'll try to call this API, which internally calls the third party API, you will see what the result is. You can see we are also getting the same result, which is test is successful, which is coming from the third party API or third party application. So let me again show you the flow. So here inside this API, we are calling the third party API method, and inside that we are calling the third party API. You can see this, right? And we are getting whatever result we are getting, we are returning out to here. So this is working fine. But what is the case if our third party API is down? Okay, so for that, let me try to go there and then try to close this one, and then now we'll try to hit the main application and then see if it is working or not. So how you can do, you can come here and then try to hit it. Now you can see you are getting 500. Okay, and if you'll go to the console, you can see that you are getting this connection refused connect. Okay, so connection exception you are getting, but as a user you don't show these things, right? So if your third party API is very frequent in availability, then the user will get this 500 error all the time, right? So in that case, how you can avoid this, that is where the fault tolerance come into the picture. Okay, and here what we are going to do is we are going to use the resilience for 4J to avoid this scenario. So for that, we go inside the third party service, and here what we have to do is we have to use the annotation called @retry, and then with the help of that annotation we'll call the call fallback method. Okay, so if the third party API fails, then the fallback method will be called and will return some result there. So we don't get the 500 like how we are getting now. We'll get 200 only, but the data will not be coming up. Okay, but like the system will not crash in that case. So for that only we are just going to use @retry. So at the method level we are going to use retry, and you can see that it is coming from the io github.resilience4j.retry annotation. Okay, so make sure it is coming from that, just import it, and here you have to provide the name of the retry. Let's say API retry, and then you have to call provide the fallback method. So just provide the fallback method here. Here you have to create one method. Let's say fallback response, something like fallback response. Copy this. This is the method that you are going to create here. So for that, how you can create it out, let's say public string fallback response, and here you have to pass the throwable object. Okay, so that you can, what you can do is you can try to log the reason why the API is failing. Okay, why the error is or why the exception is happening here. So for that only we are passing it out. Now what you can do, you can try to print something. Let's say the reason for failure for the fallback is something like, you can use throwable. Okay, why it is not take? Okay, here we are making this thing. Let's say throwable dot get message. Okay, we are getting the message here why it is failing, and now what you can do is you can return some response here. Let's say return fallback response, and you can provide like data is not available, something like that. Unable to fetch the data. Okay, now it look good. What you can do, we are good now. So we are using retry, and we are calling a fallback method when the API is failing, and this is what the return type of it is, and we'll also try to log the reason why it is failing. Okay, now the other thing is here in your application.properties files also you can provide the number of time you want to retry. Okay, the connection, like let's say here the connection is not established, so how many times you want to call the third party API, or how many times you want to call that particular method, that also you can define here, and after that you call the fallback method. Okay, so that number also you can define. So how you can define it out is you have this thing, you have the configuration here, so you can configure it out. So let's say resilience4j dot retry okay, resilience4j dot retry dot instances dot API retry. This is the name that we have provided here in the retry, right? If you go to the service, you can find this out. Copy this, come here to this, and then you have to provide the max attempt that you want to retry for. So max attempt, let's say the max attempt that we want to do is 5. Okay, and in between this attempt, how many what should be the time difference? Okay, so that also you can provide here. So duration also, wait duration also you can provide. So for that, just copy this whole thing, paste it here, and then you can use the wait duration here. Okay, and then you can provide, let's say I'm going to use the 500 millisecond. So in the call, from one call to the other call, this is the wait duration. Okay, now just try to run this application again and try to hit the API. Still you can see that the third party app is down, and we don't have the third party API ready. Okay, but here if you'll try to come here to your main application and then try to hit the API, if you'll go to the sample controller, okay, here where it is, let me try to call it from the postman to show you the things. So copy it, go to the postman, just paste it here, try to hit it, and here you can see it is taking some time, and then after that it is giving the internal server error. And if you'll come here, okay, why it is giving the internal server error? It should not. Connection refused, still it is getting the connection refused. Okay, let me try to rerun this. I think I have not rerun it after making the changes, so you have to rerun it out and then you have to call this. Okay, so we are good now. Just try to hit this again, still we are getting. Okay, we'll see. Service is there, URL, everything look good. Now the reason for the fallback, it is not printing, so it is not calling the retry here. If you'll go there to the above, you can see the retry is coming from the Resilience Forge itself, and it's look good to me. Go to the application to properties file, Resilience Forge retry instances, API retry, and then wait and max attempts. This is also look good. Go to the controller. Everything look good, then why it is not working? Just let me see. Reviews. Okay, let me try to stop it and then try to run it again. One more time I will try to run it and then see. Go to the controller, call this API. We are getting 500 and we are getting the things as connection refused. Okay. Now let me go to the pom.xml and then see if the libraries is there or not. It should be there. That is why we are able to call the Resilience Forge. It is there. It should work, but I'm not sure why it is not working. Let me try to use some other dependency from the Google. Let me try to search for that. Resilience Forge Maven. Just open this up. Open this. Let me try to copy this one. Come here to the pom.xml and then we'll try to comment this up and use this one. Just try to reload the Maven and then we'll try to see. So I think this dependency is downloaded. Let me try to read on the Maven again. Generating Maven sources. It look good. Run the application again and then try to hit the API. Okay, so this is not coming up. Let me try to remove this. Use this. Okay, so this is not coming from this one. So I think we were using the correct dependency. This is not the one that we need to use. Let me try to uncomment this one. Again, reload this and then go to the API, use this retry from this one. Again, let me try to rerun this and then see if this time it works or not. If it is not working, we'll see. I will take some time and then try to debug it out and then show you. So our application is up and fallback method, fallback response. This is the one, right? We were using the correct method or not, I'm not sure. Just rerun this again. And now go to the controller. Try to call it. Okay, so everything look good. Still we are failing it. So I will see why it is failing. I will take some time, debug it out and then show you. I took some time and then I debugged this out. I could see that the reason for failure is in the Resilience 4J, the retry and the fallback features uses Spring AOP, okay, which is aspect-oriented programming, to dynamically apply the retry and the fallback logic at the method at runtime. Okay, so I was thinking that this Resilience 4J will automatically try to have a aspect-oriented programming dependency included, but that is not including it out. So that is why it is failing. Now we have to implicitly include the Spring AOP in your pom.xml file to make this working. So go to the pom.xml and I already have this Spring AOP. What you can do, you can also Google it out and then you will find it out. If you don't find it out, I will provide the repository link in the description of this video, so you can directly go to the pom.xml and then have it. Now just include this one and then reload it. Okay, let me try to show you something before applying it out and then after that. So still it is failing with the 500 and then we'll apply it out and then show you if it is working or not. So it is run this application. We don't have the Spring AOP as of now, and still it will fail with the 500 and then I will try to apply it out and then see. So you can see it is let me try to call this. You can see it is still failing with the 500, and if you go to the API console here, application console, you can see that connection refused error is still coming up. Now we are going to add the Spring AOP in the pom.xml file, and you can see nothing else we have added. We have only the web and the Resilience 4J, the previous version, and the Lombok here. And then just load this one after adding the this Spring AOP, and once it is done, now rerun the application and try to hit this out. It will take few seconds, just wait for that, and we'll try to hit it now. So come off here and you can see our application is still loading. It is up on the port number 8080, and again let me show you, our third party API is still not up and running, so we are good. Now we'll go to the Postman, try to hit this API and then see. You can see it is taking some time, and then after that it is giving us the result as fallback response unable to fetch the data. So it is going to the fallback, method, if we'll go to the service here, you can see it is trying to call this method for like 5 times, and then after only it is going to this fallback method, and then it is it is giving us the response, which is fallback response. It is not failing with a 500. It's still our third party API is down. It is trying to do some like number of times trying to call the third party API, and if it is not giving us the result, it is not failing. It is going to the fallback response method and providing this fallback response. It is not giving us the correct result, but still it is not failing with the 500. It is giving us 200, but not the correct result here. Okay, it is giving us the result as fallback response, unable to fetch the data. So this is how the fallback, or you can say retry, or you can say fault tolerance mechanism works. Now let me show you one scenario. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the number of times the attempts we are making to call the third party API. And in that case, if like within that attempt, if the third party API is available, then it will call the third party API, give us the correct result, else it will go to the fallback method. So for that only I'm going to increase the max attempt, let's say as a 10, and let me try to run this application again and then see if our API, like within that time, if our API is available, it will give you the correct result. It will call the API and then give us the correct result, else it will go to the fallback. So as of now, our third party API is not available. Now just hit it out. You can see it is taking some time. You can see here how much time it took, and then you can say it took around 5 seconds and it is going to the fallback. Now again I'm going to increase the max attempt to 20, and within that time what I will do, I will try to make the third party API up and running, and then we'll try to see if it is working or not. So I run this and I'm going to run the third party again, and I'm going to call this API. So okay, it is still not up. You can say it is taking some time, and till then our third party API will be up. Then it will call the third party API. You can see that. You can see that it is coming up from the response is coming from the third party API, which is test is successful. So it took some time to reconnect or to recall the third party API. Within that time, if the third party API is available, it is calling the third party API, giving us the correct result, else it is going to the fallback response. So this is how the fault tolerance mechanism works. This is about the video, guys. If you like the video, please hit the like button and please subscribe the channel for more such content. Thanks.